Hey guys, it's Universe here. I'm back in another video, and today, guys, I am back for another review video. So I know recently, guys, I did my a few months ago, guys, I did my reviews on Mufasa the Lion King and Sonic the Hedgehog 3. But today, guys, I'm gonna be doing another double review just like last time. And the reviews I'm gonna be doing today are gonna be for Jurassic World Chaos Theory Season 3 and also a Minecraft movie. So, guys, a few weeks ago, or about a week or two ago, around before I came back to YouTube, I actually finally watched the third season of Jurassic World Chaos Theory alongside with the Minecraft movie, and I gotta say both were pretty good. Honestly, Chaos Theory Season 3 was pretty good, but Minecraft movie, it was all right. But we'll get to that to my review on that. So, guys, I'm gonna be doing a review on both of these. I'm gonna do Chaos Theory Season 3 first because that was the first one I watched, and then finally we'll do a Minecraft movie. Now, before I start, guys, I don't know if this is really going to matter, though, because it's been a little while, but just a fair warning, guys, for anybody who has not seen any of these, there will be spoilers ahead, so if you guys have not watched Chaos Theory Season 3 yet, nor have you watched the Minecraft movie, then click off the video now if you don't want to be spoiled. But if you have seen the movies, both the movie and series, then feel free to stick around. So let's get started. So to start off my review for Jurassic World Chaos Theory, I actually want to start by saying there was a lot going on. So I'm not going to try to review every single detail, but I will review what I can, and at least the interesting parts about the series, or about the season at least. So it started off where we had this guy who was like, he was in a panic, and then he gets confronted by that creepy raptor lady, aka the raptor handler, alongside with the Atrociraptors, and she threatens him in some way for what I can remember. Again, guys, it was my first time watching, so if I do get a few details wrong, I apologize. But I will try to get reviewed as much as I can. So, but then after that, it cuts back to the kids, to Darius, Sammy, Yaz, Ben, and Kenji, where they had just witnessed Brooklyn just abandon them with Sayona Santos, and they think that Brooklyn is no longer now literally the Brooklyn she was once before, and they think she's now completely turned on them. But the thing is, we know that Brooklyn is doing this to protect her friends because she's trying to get some info from Sayona so she can get her exposed. So when they see her take off, they see another plane land, and then the pilot turns out to be none other than Barry, who you guys might remember to be a good friend of Owen Grady from Jurassic World 2015, and made a reappearance in Jurassic World Dominion. So he offers to be their pilot and decides to take them to where they're going, but at the same time, they kind of don't really trust him at first, and they kind of think that it's best that they get off the plane. So after a crazy scene where they check on a Kentrosaurus that seems to be suffering in some way, they inject it with this serum of some sort, and it gets upset and starts going berserk, almost causing the plane to crash land, but they managed to safely land it and tranquilize the dinosaur. They then decide to kind of go off just to kind of find a way to get to where Brooklyn is without being around Barry because they don't trust him. And where they've landed, Ben notices that they're actually only a few miles away from where his girlfriend lives, so they decided to go and stay with her for the time being. So it cuts to the next episode where we see the kids, they head to Ben's girlfriend's house, whose name is Gia. Yes, almost like Gia from Godzilla vs. Kong. And she's happy to see Ben after so long. However, her mother, who actually speaks Spanish for most of the season, but she does speak English a few times, she's not very too fond of dinosaurs because she has the feeling that dinosaurs are a curse that needs to be eliminated, honestly. So, and since they have Bumpy's egg, they try their best to keep it hidden from her as much as possible. But soon things only get worse, where eventually the egg hatches, where we finally get to see Bumpy's kid, which they name Smoothie. Which is kind of funny because it sounds like the drink, like a smoothie. And literally, Smoothie's design, it's basically it looks a bit like Bumpy's design from Camp Cretaceous when she was little, only they made her smaller, or they made him smaller, because I think Smoothie is a boy. I think it is, from what I can remember. But it kind of has the same model as Bumpy from Camp Cretaceous when she was a baby, but it has a more a bluish purple color to her instead of a cyan. So it was nice to see the egg hatch, and there were a lot of really cute moments. I was watching this with Jack Rex, big shout out to him, by the way, and he said that a lot of the scenes with Smoothie were honestly so freaking adorable, honestly, and they honestly were. We also do get to see another scene where we see Sayona give Brooklyn this mechanical arm, since we remember last time her arm got torn off by Ghost Yeah, originally we thought it was the Allosaurus, but it actually was the Atrociraptors. And speaking of the Allosaurus, I'm going to get to an interesting detail in a few. But yeah, she gets like this mechanical arm from Sayona. And I think this happens next or later on, but eventually we are reintroduced into, like, oh crap, what was his name? Oh my god, how did I forget his name? The dude from Jurassic World Dominion. I forgot his name. Hold on. Okay, guys, it's Lewis Dodgson. I apologize, guys. I don't know why I keep forgetting his name for some reason. But yeah, we do get a reintroduction to Lewis Dodgson into this season. And also, we do see the handler again, where eventually Brooklyn comes face-to-face with her once again. And we actually come to find out that the Raptor handler, aka the Raptor lady, is actually working with Sayona. She does try to like kill Brooklyn with the Atrociraptors, but Sayona tells her off not to. And she threatens that if she does that, she's going to cause the Atrociraptors to turn on her because... So... This is kind of a bit early to say, but I'm going to say this right now. So, the thing is, with the Raptor handler, she's grown, like, this bond with the Atrociraptors, like they're her own, like, personal pets, like her own dogs. And eventually she finds out that her, along with Brooklyn, find out that she's going to be selling the Atrociraptors, and the handler is absolutely just, like, she's sickened by this, for, like, how the fact she's selling these dinosaurs that she's grown to, like, almost like a symbiotic bond with, which honestly makes me feel a little bit bad for her. As creepy as she is in the season or the series, she honestly has a moment where I actually can sympathize for her or actually feel bad for her. It's a bit of, I think it's a little early to tell us, but I can't remember how everything went in specific order, so I'm going to try to explain just what I could. And then there was one other part when back to the kids where they went to go, where I think it was Darius and Kenji, I think? I don't quite remember, but they took Gia's car to get, like, some groceries or something, and then they got lost in a blizzard, and then a figure runs past them, which caused them to swerve off the road, and then as they manage to escape, when it starts to jump on the car and try to attack them, they get back and tell Gia what happened, and then on, like, the rear of the car, there's a red feather that was stuck to it, and if you guys have seen Dominion, you know exactly what dinosaur it belongs to, which I'm going to get into in a bit. So for now, they just use the feather as like a little toy for Smoothie, which I guess was kind of cute. And Gia's trying to figure out like what creature this could have belonged to, like what dinosaur the feather belonged to or something, or like if it was from a big giant bird, but it's from a dinosaur that they're not too familiar with as of right now. And they also do try to get into contact with Brooklyn again. They actually managed to like FaceTime her and message her, but then she says something that makes them feel like, so what do we do now? Like, she kind of feels like she just doesn't want to have anything to do with them. And I think Darius kind of, like, decides to just give up because they think that Brooklyn just doesn't want anything to really do with them anymore. And they think she's kind of turned over, like, a villain arc at this point. So during this, when they're kind of having an argument, Kenji, who actually is showing a lot more, like, love and compassion to Smoothie than Ben, which before I continue, I'm going to be honest, I'm surprised that Kenji was actually the one showing a lot more love to Bumpy's daughter than Ben, because as you know, Ben and Bumpy have like another symbiotic relationship with one another. I think that's what it is, I could be wrong, but they have like a nice bond with each other, and I'm surprised that it's Kenji showing more love to Smoothie than Ben, which I'm not mad about. I'm like, this is actually interesting. But anyways, moving on. So Kenji exits the room, and he accidentally runs into Gia's mother, who is frightened of Smoothie and tries to kill her, or him. But then Kenji, like, convinces her that Smoothie's not a threat. Now, I will be honest, the way they kind of portray Gia's mother, she kind of reminds me of that one character from the movie Coco, like, she's the daughter of Mama Coco, how she despises music, and she thinks it's a curse, like, along with Miguel's whole family. That's who Gia's mother was kind of reminding me of, especially despite how they both speak Spanish, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if DreamWorks and Hamlin Entertainment, or why did I say Hamlin? I was thinking about, like, that company from Mandy Adventure, but Emblem Entertainment. My bad, guys. I'm sorry. I wouldn't be surprised if Universal and DreamWorks and Emblem Entertainment got inspiration from Disney Pixar's Coco, but I don't know. But that's just something I picked up on, which I think was pretty interesting. Eventually, like, Gia's mother does have like a bit more of shows a bit more like love and caring for Smoothie, and then when Smoothie decides to take a pee in one of her cooking materials. She takes Smoothie outside to use the bathroom, but she ends up just leaving him out there, and Kenji goes out to see where he is, and he finds out that he's gone. And then he kind of blames her for it because he thinks that she did this on purpose to get rid of her or him. Yeah, guys, I don't remember if Smoothie is a boy or girl, so I apologize. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments below. So then they have to go out and look for Smoothie, and then soon they hear this, like, the town bell going off, which indicates that there's something bad going on in the town. And then we cut to this one scene before one of the episodes end where this guy is trying to look for his dog who went missing, and then he looks in these bushes, which he thinks it's his dog, but it's actually not his dog, and it's actually the creature that caused the feather to get on the roof of the car, and then it ends up killing him. And then we cut to the next episode cuts to the kids trying to find Smoothie, and the whole town is just completely empty since they're in hiding from what the threat is. Eventually, they manage to find Smoothie, but Smoothie is staring at something in a dark alleyway, and then we see a pair of glowing eyes show up, which was honestly creepy. And the creature that they were teasing is none other than the Pyroraptor, and this is the exact same Pyroraptor from Dominion. And I gotta say, the way they did the Pyroraptor in this, they did the Pyroraptor some justice in this series than how they portrayed it in Dominion. Like, it got a lot more respect and a lot more screen time. So what happens is, like, Gia's mom grabs Smoothie, and she actually attempts to, like, get to shoo the Pyroraptor away like it's like a raccoon or something, which I think was kind of funny. And then it kind of begins to back off. They think at first she's the one causing it to kind of back off, but boy were they wrong, because we find out that it actually was the Atrociraptors. So apparently Sayona, Brooklyn, and the handler heard about what was going on with the Pyroraptor, like, running through the streets of Gia's town, and they send the Atrociraptors to actually capture it. Now we do get a bit of a fight scene with the Atrociraptors fighting the Pyroraptor, which I gotta say was pretty cool. And even with it being 3-on-1, the Pyroraptor handled this fight pretty well, honestly, and I gotta give it to him for that. And with this fight scene we got, I definitely will be trying to do some versus battles with the Pyroraptor. Like, I definitely will do Blue versus the Pyroraptor, definitely, or something like that, but we'll see. But the Atrociraptors managed to herd the Pyroraptor into the back of a van so they could capture it, which was pretty crazy how the Pyroraptor could handle the Atrociraptors could handle a Pyroraptor like this, and the Pyroraptor could still put up a fight. Like, that was pretty epic, honestly. I gotta give respect to the Pyroraptor for that. Like, they made it a menace in this season. So eventually they're all safe now. They found Smoothie, and Kenji and Gia's mother, they reconcile and they apologize to one another, and then Gia's mother, like, has a change of heart with knowing that not all dinosaurs are bad and they're not all really a curse, and she allows Gia to, like, to offer, like, info about dinosaurs to her, because apparently Ben explains that Gia wants to be a paleontologist, but she's been keeping this hidden from her mother for the longest, ever since she had a fear of dinosaurs. So then what happens is, the group go different ways, where Sammy, Gia, and Kenji go to somewhere else. I think they go to Biosyn. I think what happens is they try to, like, they go somewhere, but then they find the van that had the Pyroraptor. It, like, crashed. It, like, swerved off the road because the Pyroraptor escaped, and then they realize that where the Pyroraptor is, it's in, like, a highly populated area. And Sammy finds this tablet in the van, and they actually they finally, on the tablet, it's a bunch of, like, it shows, like, different dinosaurs that are being taken to Biosyn. And also they do, when they hear, like, a noise on, like, the car or the van, they think it's the Pyroraptor, but it actually turns out to be the locusts, like the giant locusts from Dominion. So then when they see the locust, like a locust, like, flying about, the Pyroraptor then grabs, like, eats the locust, and then they slowly make their way into the car or the van or whatever, I don't remember. And they actually chase after the Pyroraptor because they know it's in a populated area where there's people, and that's really bad. Meanwhile, Darius, Yaz, and Ben are trying to go to Malta, where Brooklyn is, and she kind of goes. We do see Brooklyn go in the Malta area, like the black market area from Malta, from Dominion, where they have, like, all, like, the offers, the illegal tradings of the dinosaurs. and she like interrogates this one guy to like I guess like explain more. I think from what I remember, I don't remember the whole thing, but that's from what I know. And we do of course see like the Lystrosaurus and some copies, the ugly looking Dimorphodon that looks like a buzzard, and we don't see any Oviraptors unfortunately. So, but it was cool to see some like dinosaurs from Dominion, like they're doing some callbacks. There was one scene where I think the handler was trying to find like her Atrociraptors when she found out that Soyona was going to sell them, and we do see a brief moment of some Velociraptors. And Jack Riggs told me that those were from Isla Sorna, from what he told me. But anyways, so Darius, Ben, and Yaz are trying to find Brooklyn. They eventually do find her again, and they offer to help her, but she needs to go undercover. So they find out that Brooklyn's doing this for like a good cause, because she's trying to like stay undercover just to expose Sayona. And they do eventually reunite with Barry as well. And if you've seen Dominion, you know exactly where this is going. Well, meanwhile, Kenji, Sammy, and Gia, they go to like this area where people are like playing in the snow and sledding. They get like these snowmobiles to try like drive the Pyroraptor away from the area to protect the humans. And then what happens is they manage to scare it off, but as soon as they do, an avalanche starts, and then the avalanche buries them in the snow, but they manage to survive. So thankfully for that. But soon they also make a horrifying discovery. So, I remember what it was. So why they went their separate ways. So Kenji and Sammy were gonna go back home to where Bumpy was, like where Sammy was. But when they make a horrifying discovery that Bumpy's not there anymore. So that means someone captured her and they actually brought her to Biosyn. So this means that Bumpy was actually in Dominion the whole time, and we didn't know that. So first, Bumpy was captured by like that wildlife organization in season 1, but they managed to save her, and now she gets recaptured by Biosyn. Like, holy crap. So then they actually find out that where they are, they're actually not far from Biosyn, and they choose to go there to find Bumpy. Well, meanwhile, Darius and Yaz and Ben are trying to help Brooklyn. And then soon, we actually get a scene with Brooklyn and the handler. They get into like a bit of like a fight, but they actually agree to team up to try and take down Sayona. So what they do is they hide in the transport truck that the Atrociraptors were in Dominion, where we see Sayona like offering like the Atrociraptors to those guys, and then like Owen and his men, like they confront them. They were in that scene the whole time because they were hiding in the truck. So eventually it does crash. The truck does crash like in Dominion, and the crates go everywhere. And then Brooklyn gets knocked out, and she sees like Owen and Barry try to arrest Sayona, but she sends the Atrociraptors after Owen while Barry actually attempts to arrest her. So from that scene in Dominion, she still didn't get arrested just yet. While also Darius and Yaz and Ben, they are in like the underground bunker areas of Malta, and then like there's a whole stampede of dinosaurs going about. And they do get attacked by a Baryonyx, which I don't know if it was the one with the mechanical arm. T-Rex thought it was Chaos, but I don't know. And there was also one other scene where we also do see Demon Carno, but for some reason I thought it was Toro at first because it had a bit of like the design of Toro, but it had like a bit of a broken horn, so it was Demon Carno. And we also do see the Allosaurus. They do fight for a bit. And from what they show with the Allosaurus, I swear to God, that was the Allosaurus from season 1, because it was blind in one of its eyes. So does that mean the whole time in Dominion that was actually the Chaos Theory Allosaurus? If so, that was crazy. But now with all the dinosaurs going free throughout the streets of Malta, it's just absolute chaos. So then Darius and Yaz, they attempt to round up all the dinosaurs and get them back into the bunker area. But as they do so, they find out that the Carnotaurus didn't follow them, and you're about to see why. So then, and also during the last few episodes, we actually find out that all the Atrociraptors, including Ghost, actually survived the chase scene in Dominion when they were chasing Owen. Like even when Ghost got hit by the bike on the plane and got knocked into the ocean, she actually survived, because there was a scene where she like was seen coming out of an alleyway and she was like shaking water off her. So that means she survived, which I think was pretty interesting. But yeah, eventually the Atrociraptors, they regroup, and then they go to where Sayona is, or something like that. And then the handler she is ready to take down Sayona. She is just sickened by her with the fact she tried to take the Atrociraptors away from her. So she chases after her to this area where a helicopter is coming to get her. And then we get this brutal fight scene between the handler and Sayona. So then soon, the Atrociraptors, they regroup with the handler, and Sayona has Red attempt to attack her. And what happens is, when the handler gets Ghost, Tiger, and Panthera to try and attack Red, they eventually kind of like communicate, and then Red joins the Atrociraptors in the handler, and they turn against Sayona. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. And now we have the whole squad of Atrociraptors now. So then, and also with the fact that how Red was not fully with the Atrociraptors at first, that I guess kind of explains why Red was kind of apart from the other Atrociraptors in Dominion when he tried to attack Owen and Barry, I guess. So with the Atrociraptors all turned against Sayona, she doesn't think much of it because she has something else in mind to take them all on. And what she has is Demon fucking Carno. She has Demon Carno as another dinosaur that will follow her orders. So what happens is she like commands it to attack, and then the handler uses the whistle to attack the Carnotaurus, and then it's 4v1. Now this part actually gets very sad because what happens is the Demon Carno knocks Ghost on the ground and then crushes her, actually killing Ghost. So Ghost actually gets killed right here. And this part, I actually got pretty emotional because I actually felt bad for the handler and Ghost. Despite them being villains, I actually felt bad for him. Like, the handler was actually pretty heartbroken that Ghost was killed. And now the Alpha Atrociraptor is dead. The other three retreat and run away since now they no longer have an Alpha. But before that, as the Demon Carno is about to kill them, the handler then puts herself in between them, and then for once from the whole series, we actually hear her talk for once, or we hear her speak, where she puts herself in between them and says, "Stop!" Yeah, we literally hear her speak for the first and unfortunately the only time. So she tries to like get the Demon Carno to stop. I actually thought she was going to actually get the Demon Carno to be on her side. If she did, I was going to be like, this girl is literally like is secretly a player expert in Far Cry Primal. Because if you know, if you guys have seen Far Cry Primal, you know that how you tame animals, you throw bait down and then you go up to them and you kind of like calm them down, which gets them to be like your pet. That's what it kind of like is basically. That's what I was thinking. But no, unfortunately, the Carnotaurus doesn't listen, and it ends up killing her. Which I gotta say was pretty terrifying because I honestly felt bad for her for this. And Brooklyn, seeing this, is horrified. And then eventually Ben and Darius find her, and they beg Brooklyn not to go with Sayona to Biosyn. And then what happens is Brooklyn turns against them, points the device at them, and is about to command the Carnotaurus to kill them. But Sayona also kind of suggests to Brooklyn that they actually join them. But they're like, why in the hell would we join you guys? Why would we join Sayona? But eventually, the Demon Carno ends up getting tranquilized from behind. And then we find out it was from Yaz and Barry. So they managed to tranquilize the Carnotaurus. And they finally arrest Sayona and take down the broker once and for all. So when she finds out that Brooklyn was actually planning to kind of like expose this whole time, she attempts to like punch Brooklyn, but she knocks her down with the mechanical arm. And she also does reject the mechanical arm that Sayona gave her. But yeah, she smacks Sayona with it, knocks her down, and Sayona is finally arrested and taken to justice. And then finally, Brooklyn is finally reunited with her friends once and for all, and they have a happy ending right there. But that doesn't mean this is the end of the series. So they feel that there's something more going on. So the four friends then decide to head to Biosyn to try to find out more. And then right before the episode ends, we see Kenji and Sammy and Smoothie. They're on a hill in the woods. And then they look in the distance. And right before the episode ends, we see them looking in the distance. And we can see Biosyn Sanctuary. Which means finally we're going to see them going to Biosyn. Finally, because we thought in Season 3 they were heading to Biosyn, but no, in Season 4. And when it ended like right there, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be good. Because I am really hoping that when Season 4 comes out, I am so hoping that we see the Giganotosaurus. I'm hoping so much we actually see Zeb the Giganotosaurus appear. And maybe hopefully we see Rexy appear, and maybe even Buck and Doe, since we also know they're on Biosyn as well. And also, we might also see the Fairies Unisaurus, but since they're going to Biosyn, I have high hopes. But they're going to Biosyn to find Bumpy to reunite Smoothie with her mother, Bumpy, basically. So this will be interesting. So I definitely will be looking forward to that when it comes out in like the coming months. So yeah, like I'm pretty excited to see where this goes next. So yeah, for what I think for Chaos Theory, I gotta say this season was pretty epic. The seasons are only just getting better, and I am really intrigued to see where they take the story next. So now for my rating of this season, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Like it was decent. There were some scenes that were pretty like tense and like heartbreaking, but they did not fail to deliver, honestly. And I'm really glad that now Brooklyn's finally back with her friends, and the broker is finally even taken to justice. So now we have a happy ending. So now that my review on Chaos Theory is taken care of, now onto my review for the Minecraft movie. So for my review of the Minecraft movie, I'm going to say this movie, it was decent, but it had a few flaws in it, which I'm going to get to in a bit. So the movie starts off where we see Steve as a kid, where he goes to like this mine, and eventually years later he goes back and he finds like this cube and this glass case, which opens the portal for him to go to the overworld, where he finds like him in the world of Minecraft. And we get like a montage of him like adapting to the place, and eventually taming the wolf that we see in the trailers, which he names Dennis. And then soon he does make the flint and steel. Yes, because you guys I've seen the memes where he lights the nether portal and goes to the nether. And this is where we immediately are introduced to the villain of this movie, Malgosha, the leader of the piglins. And first off, I'm just gonna say right now, I'm probably getting way too ahead of like explaining everything, but I'm just trying my best to explain what I can. The thing is, with what Mojang is doing with the piglins, there has to be more to them. Like, they have to add some kind of, like, an actual, like, good piglin update with, like, a boss or something. Because they're giving the piglins so much, like, attention. Like, we've had this in Minecraft Legends with the piglins being, like, the main threat. And now in the Minecraft movie, like, what is going on with these piglins? Like, there has to be something to these guys. Like, they really need to add, like, an actual piglin boss or something into Minecraft itself. I mean, there is a free Minecraft movie add-on on the marketplace, which I do have. But they gotta make it official for, like, an actual update. But yeah, anyways, what happens is Steve and Dennis get kidnapped. And what happens is Steve helps Dennis escape so we can try to, like, keep the orb away, like, the cube away from Malgosha. So the piglins, like, role in this is that they want to use the cube, which is the orb of dominance, so they can use it to shroud the overworld in darkness, and so everything can just wither and die, and they can just take over the overworld and destroy everything that's built by people. So basically, it's world domination. Basically, your typical world domination. So and after that, we cut. So Dennis manages to make it back to the real world and hides the cube somewhere where it could never be found. And he's kind of stuck in the real world for a while. And then we cut to the other main characters. So we do eventually see Garrett, the garbage man Garrison, where he goes to... This part's actually interesting. So he goes to, like, this auction. Now, he also was revealed that he's like a popular, like, gamer, like, with the gaming awards, I think. Kind of was giving me Pixels vibes, not gonna lie. So he goes to, like, this garage auction where they actually surprisingly have, like, the cube at. And you guys are not going to believe this. So there are a few cameos in this movie. The first two we're seeing at the beginning, where during the auction, we actually get a cameo of 2 Minecraft YouTubers. And the YouTubers were DanTDM, aka the Diamond Minecart, and Athmal. They actually made some cameo appearances during the auction scene. They didn't actually speak, but when I saw that, I was like, ain't no way that's DanTDM and Athmal. No freaking way. And there was another one which I will get to in a second, but in a little bit. But yeah, I was shocked. I do remember on Instagram they were saying that they did make cameos in this movie. I was seeing that on Instagram, but I was like, wow, holy crap. They actually had Athmal and the Diamond Minecart play cameos. So then what happens is Garrett is kind of like not doing good financially, and he gets like an eviction letter that he's going to be kicked out of his store because he hasn't really been able to pay off like his house, not his house, but his store. And then we cut to Dawn and Natalie and Henry, where they have some problems going. Like, Henry's trying to make like this invention, like a jetpack, which goes terribly wrong. And Dawn basically hires Natalie and Henry to watch her house or something like that. Eventually, they do meet Garrett, and they find like the cube. Yeah, like Henry finds the cube that Garrett had, and they follow it to the cave that Steve was at, and which is how they enter the overworld when they light the portal and go there. So they kind of don't know where they're at. We see like a funny scene with Garrett trying to like get the pink sheep to communicate with him. And then while this is going on, we actually see a villager go through the portal back to the real world. And and he kind of like is not familiar with the surroundings. I'm not gonna get into this just yet because you're gonna see why in a second. And Dennis does end up following the kids back to the overworld. So then when they're exploring, eventually nighttime comes, and then they're attacked by like swarms of monsters like zombies and skeletons and spiders and creepers. I will say though, the designs for the monsters, like those guys, it wasn't too bad. The zombies looked a lot like Frankenstein's. The skeletons looked menacing. The creepers were a bit cool, how they had like a grass like design to them. The spiders though looked pretty good. They looked kind of game accurate, even though they were like live action. And during all that's going on, so Henry manages to like build a fortress or like a house to keep him, Natalie, and Dawn safe from the monsters, while Garrett is just trying to fight off and run from a bunch of spider jockeys. And then he gets snuck up by a creeper. He backslaps it, or he hand slaps it, and then we get that part where he's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." Then boom, just blows him back. So during this, they managed to get Garrett into the fortress. But then what happens is a creeper explosion happens, which makes an opening for a bunch of zombies to attack him on the roof. But then soon, Steve comes in and saves the day. And then eventually, not long after he fights off the zombies, the daytime comes and everything burns. All the monsters burn up. And then we get the iconic scene with, "Who are you?" "I am Steve." One of the most iconic moments in the movie. Yeah, the thing is, people are really only liking this movie for the memes, honestly. But what can we expect from movies like this? There's always going to be certain memes. So Steve explains how, with them having the cube, that it's dangerous because that's going to be very dangerous for what he's trying to keep it from, basically. Well, actually, Steve came back to the overworld because Malgosha threatened him to try to find the cube and bring it back to her in exchange for keeping his dog Dennis alive. But they don't know that Dennis isn't with them. Dennis is actually far enough away from the piglins where he won't be harmed. But Steve, deep down, does not want to actually let this happen. So he still is determined to keep the cube safe from the piglins, so that way they can't like cause world domination. So he kind of gives the kids a tour of the place, like he brings them to the village, where the Midport village scene where they meet all like the villagers and stuff like that. And during this scene, we actually see them see a certain pig walk by with a crown on his head. And if you guys are familiar with that appearance, you guys will know all too well that belongs to the legend himself, Technoblade, one of the most iconic Minecraft YouTubers that we've had in history. Which, rest in peace, by the way, because I do remember he passed away a few years ago in 2022. So rest in peace to him. So they do ask, like, what is that, like a king or something? The king of pigs? And he's like, no, that is a legend. Like, that's a legend right there. So nice little callback, a little, like, respect to Technoblade right there. All tribute to him. R.I.P. But yeah, so eventually Steve does, like, show him, like, his stash of, like, items and stuff like that. While meanwhile, back in the Nether, Malgosha tells the piglins to go back to the overworld to find the cube. And then we get introduced to this one piglin chief named General Chungus, who I gotta say, he's actually pretty fucking hilarious. His voice is so ridiculous, but it's hilariously ridiculous. Like, he's like this threatening, like, General Piglin, but he has like this chill voice, honestly. Like, he has like this chill personality, which makes him so hilarious. So what happens is, but in order for the piglins to go there, Malgosha gives the piglins these potions that will cause them not to zombify. Because if you've played Minecraft, you know that if a piglin enters the overworld, or the end, it's gonna zombify, technically. So eventually they raid the village to try to find the cube, and we get like this crazy fight scene with them trying to fight off the piglins, and we get more of like General Chungus' character, which is pretty hilarious. Like, he's like, "Hey, yo, Steve, how's it been, man? Sorry, but I gotta get rid of you because I gotta get that cube, man." Like, something like that. Like, I was like, what the hell is this guy? Like, bro. So eventually they do manage to escape. So what happens is Garrett, Henry, and Steve, I almost said Jack Black. Now, first off, I'm going to say right now, Jack Black, I don't find him fitting for Steve. I'm going to say this right now, I don't find him fitting for Steve. I've said this a few times before that I feel that movie directors nowadays are just reusing same actors that they used previously for like this, for newer movies. Like I'll give an example. Take the start of Jurassic World Dominion, for example. They had Chris Pratt reprise as Owen Grady. Okay, then in 2023 he came back again to play Mario in the Mario Bros. Movie, which I'm gonna be honest, he did alright as Mario. I know Jason Sheeran thinks otherwise. And then he came back again in 2023. I mean, no, 2024, I meant, to play as Garfield in the Garfield movie, which, let's be for real, he doesn't play well as Garfield. I'm going to say this right now. He does not play a good Garfield. And they did the same thing for Jack Black, from what I remember. So in 2023, they had him play Bowser in the Mario movie, which he did amazing with. In 2024, he reprised as Poe for Kung Fu Panda 4. And now, in 2025, he plays as Steve in the Minecraft movie. Like, you guys maybe see where I'm going with right here? Like, if that's actually the case, that's very concerning, honestly. Like, what, are we gonna get Jack Black or Chris Pratt in the Monsterverse or something? Which I really am hoping that doesn't happen. Please don't bring them into the Monsterverse. I mean, Sam Neill for the GXK sequel is a good choice, but no Chris Pratt or Jack Black for the Monsterverse, please. But anyways, back on topic. So, while Henry, Steve, and Garrett try to make an escape route, so apparently what they do is they have to go find, like, I think the cube or, like, the glass case for it, but it's at a Woodland Mansion, so they have to try to find a Woodland Mansion, like, to go to this Woodland Mansion area to find it. So that's where they escape off to, while Natalie and Dawn, they escape, they all get, like, split up, but they know that they're going to try to regroup with them, but they have to get a map from one of the villagers. I think it's the choreographer villager that offers the maps in the game. I don't remember. So how Garrett and Henry get away is they use elytra wings to escape, but unfortunately Jack Black or Steve only had 2, so he grabs onto Garrett so they can escape that way. And also, I'm going to get into this right here. I know when the movie was coming out, a lot of people were really hoping to see the Ender Dragon. Despite they have the elytra wings, that's how we could indicate that we might not even see the Ender Dragon, because how do you get the elytra wings in Minecraft? You go to the end city. How do you go to the end cities? You have to kill the Ender Dragon. See where I'm going with? That's why we might not get the Ender Dragon in Minecraft movies. So if they attempt to make a sequel, but we'll see how things go in the future. Also, we do see the piglins riding on ghasts, which I gotta say the ghasts look pretty terrifying. And we do get that chase scene where they're chasing after them on the elytra, how they're riding on the ghast to chase after the gang. And with how the piglins were riding on the ghast with, like, these rafts below them, we're actually gonna kind of get that in the next Minecraft update with the happy ghasts. How we can put, like, boats underneath them with leashes attached to them. Maybe that's what maybe Mojang was getting inspiration from the movie for that. But anyways, we get the chase scene where they're chasing after them, the piglins are chasing after them like ghasts. And when the version I was watching, I first watched the unfinished version with Jack Rex until eventually I downloaded a full finished version. And the unfinished version, they actually had Paranoid playing, which, if you guys remember, I used that song in Team Cohen versus Team Austin Stewart, by the way. So eventually they do manage to escape the piglins. And then they crash land into a jungle, and then Steve uses the water bucket tactic to crash land safely, and they do it near a bunch of pandas. So then they tend to move onward to try to find where the Woodland Mansion is. So they end up going through this cave area where there's a minecart to go quickly to the Woodland Mansion. While meanwhile, Malgosha she ashames General Chungus for failing her, and then she ends up killing him by using her newest creation, the Great Hog, which is it's like this big, like, brute piglin, honestly. It's like an ogre troll piglin, basically, and ends up killing General Chungus. So then she sends the Great Hog to go after them to get the cube. Well, meanwhile, back in the real world, when the villager that escaped in the real world, he's looking at his surroundings, and he ends up getting hit by a car, and the person that hit him was actually Henry's principal. And this is where we get to see the part where they start falling in love, and they eventually end up going on a date, and this is where things get kind of weird. And we get to see them, like, throughout the movie. So then when Steve, Garrett, and Henry are in this cave and find these minecarts, Garrett finds like a whole stash of diamonds, which he gets a little bit too greedy about, and then Henry kind of scolds him for it, but he explains that he needs the money because he's not doing so well financially, and he needs the money to help save his store. But anyways, they go through the minecarts, they get chased by the Great Hog, and they end up getting trapped in like this creeper-like pit, it's like a creeper trap area. They manage to like push the minecart to these redstone rails so they can go faster and escape the Great Hog, while all the creepers blow the cave up and kill it. And when that happens, they finally make it to the Woodland Mansion, and then what happens is Steve and Garrett, they pose as a distraction for the Vindicators so Henry can go to the 3rd floor where the storage is, like the storage chest, and find the cube. And then this part, which I know a lot of us were all aware about, is where we get to the biggest and most iconic part in the movie. So on to the iconic part that we all know and love so much. So during this, as Henry is trying to find the orb on the 3rd floor of the Woodland Mansion, Garrett is in like this boxing arena area while Steve is tied up. And then he's basically forced to fight a chicken, as you would think. He's like, what, so I have to fight the chicken? It's a fight to the death, kid. And then a crate lowers down on top of the chicken, and down drops a baby zombie. And yes, this is where we get the iconic chicken jockey scene in the movie. Now, before I continue, yes, guys, I am 100% aware of the recent theater reactions we have been getting with the whole chicken jockey scene in the movie. So if you guys know, there's been a lot of TikTok trends, and I guess maybe Instagram trends, or just trends all over social media of fans just going absolutely batshit crazy over this scene. And I don't mean like people just like cheering like a lot, like you would see like in Sonic 3 theater reactions or Avengers Endgame, but I'm talking like there's people throwing popcorn, going way more crazy, there's fights breaking out, and the most iconic one of all, a person brought a goddamn live chicken to the theater. Like, hold on, I have one question. It's hard enough to to sneak candy into a movie, but it's not hard for them to bring a live chicken into the theaters? Like, that's a little strange, honestly, not gonna lie, but whatever. And there's been more. Like there was one with the police having to get called to escort the obnoxious like audiences out of there, and even one I saw or two where some people sorry guys, some people had the audacity to bring fireworks to the theaters and start lighting them in the theater room. There was one that I think almost lit the freaking room on fire. Like, can you guys believe that? I might post a video, like, right now showing you guys, like, an example or something, but if I can find them. But if I don't, then just take my word for it. But anyways, moving on. So, Gary is forced to fight the chicken jockey, and kind of like the Mario movie when Mario was getting his ass handed by Donkey Kong, Garrett is just getting his ass handed to him by the chicken jockey. Well, mostly the baby zombie. And Henry is on the 3rd floor. He finds the cube, or like the glass case for the cube, but he unfortunately gets confronted by an Enderman. And I gotta say, the Enderman design actually looks really good for live action. It looks really decent. So he ends up looking at the eye, but he finds like an enchanted weapon, like a diamond weapon of some sort. I think it was an axe, and he uses it to fight off the Enderman and get an Ender Pearl. So after he defeats the Enderman, he like digs his way to the boxing ring where Garrett and the chicken jockey are fighting, and Steve does manage to like untie himself so he can help Garrett fight off the zombie, and ends up like whacking it out of the ring and defeating it. So they manage to get the glass case for the cube, and they escape the Woodland Mansion, but not long after they do so, they are confronted once again by Malgosha and her Piglin army. So unfortunately, they end up stealing the cube, like it ends up like getting like magneted to her staff, giving it full power, but they manage to like get onto like one of the gas, like the boat rafts that are underneath one of them. And by that, I mean Steve and Henry, but unfortunately, Garrett ends up sacrificing himself by blowing TNT up that the Piglins had to destroy the bridge. And then they think that it gets real that Garrett is presumably dead. So they manage to escape, but I think the TNT impact causes them to crash land, and they get knocked out. And also, earlier, I forgot to mention this, Natalie and Dawn were trying to make their way to the Woodland Mansion to regroup with the rest of the gang, and while they were doing so, they ended up finding Dennis, and he ends up leading him to Steve. So when Steve and Henry wake up, they end up in like this mushroom house that Natalie and Dawn built, and Steve reunites with Dennis. But unfortunately, as for the Piglins, Malgosha manages to shroud the overworld in complete darkness, almost like The vibe of like the color scheme of the sky was kind of maybe giving me like a bit like Winterstorm vibes, like how the Winterstorm makes everything like very dark and gloomy, or maybe kind of like the end almost. But yeah, and then all the penguins start coming out of the nether portal. It's just like a huge army, and Malgosha also managed to make another great hog after the last one died in that creeper cave. So during this, Steve and the rest prepare for battle. Like they make diamond armor, diamond weapons, get like a bunch of like iron to make iron golems, and soon the final battle enlists into like a whole Avengers, like another Endgame style like final battle, like how we had with Mufasa the Lion King, with all of, like the Pridelanders fighting against Kiros, Kiros and his lionesses, and now it's Steve and the gang, and also some iron golems that they make to fight against Malgosha and her piglins. And there is one scene where they had like these enchanted boots with swiftness. What happens is, I think it was Henry, I know Natalie was like building all the iron golems, but I think Henry accidentally got one of the boots on like an iron golem that was being built, and it like turned this into like a mutated kind of iron golem with like swiftness, where it could go like really fast, and it was more like bulky, almost like a mutant iron golem, sort of like from those mods. And it becomes a worthy opponent to fight the Great Hog. So the plan is to get the cube off of like the top of the nether portal so they can turn the overworld back to normal and win the fight. So during this, it's like a huge fight. So Henry uses the Ender Pearl that he got from the Enderman back at the Willow Mansion. He throws it on top of the nether portal, gets up there. I think he just grabbed the cube, or he's about to, but the Great Hog shoots like a projectile from like this like gun. It's almost like a rocket launcher of some sort from like its hand, which causes him to fall. And before he falls to his death, he then is saved by none other than Garrett, the garbage man Garrison, who had actually survived the TNT explosion on the bridge. How he survived is that he explained that he used the same water bucket technique that Steve used earlier when they were escaping the piglins and they ended up in the jungle. So that's how he survived. And he's riding like those rafts that are underneath one of the gas, and he uses the gas to shoot fireballs at the piglins. And while the Great Hog, I think, is about to kill Natalie, Dawn then appears with Dennis, and then Dennis unleashes like this whole army of wolves that she and Dawn tamed. And what's funny enough, back then I did used to like tame a bunch of wolves when I played Minecraft, just to have them just take on a bunch of mobs. And this is what was kind of reminding me of. So Dennis and all the wolves, they start like attacking the Great Hog, but then soon Henry manages. Actually, no, I think it's Henry or Steve. Again, guys, I apologize if I can't remember everything because I've only seen the movie once. I kind of looked back at a few scenes, but I don't remember the entire thing. So if I get some things wrong, I apologize. So they do manage to get the cube and like restore it, and it turns the overworld back to normal, and all of the piglins then become zombified. And during this, Steve was fighting Malgosha with diamond armor, but unfortunately, I think the chest plate and the leggings end up breaking when she shoots him with the staff. But I think the helmet and the boots are still intact. But since the overworld is gone back to normal, the piglins lost, and Malgosha becomes weak. And then when Steve is like scolding Malgosha and say that's over, Malgosha tries like this sneak attack technique that Steve actually tried to her earlier in the film. She tries it 3 times, which is kind of hilarious, but Steve easily does not fall for it that much. And then he just like turns his back on him and says like goodbye or something like that, like good riddance. Like, I don't know. So Malgosha ends up just getting very weak. She's trying to like trick Steve into coming close again so she can just try to stab him into a sneak attack, but she ends up just like face planting on the ground, and I think she does end up dying. And then there's like these 2 little baby piglins that just like look at like what the hell is going on. And then what it ends off with Natalie, Garrett, and Henry and Dawn and going back to the real world, and Dennis actually decides to accompany them to go back to the real world. Steve decides to stay, but then he has a change of thoughts and actually goes back to the real world as well, and everyone has a happy ending. Like Garrett's store starts to succeed, like he like managed to pay it off or something like that. Henry's invention with the jetpack becomes a success. Natalie teaches like I think like a karate class of some sort, and I forgot what Dawn's. I think she had like some sort of like a petting zoo or something. I don't quite remember. But yeah, like everyone has a happy ending, and Jack Black does perform like his new hit song, I Feel Alive. So first we had his Baby One More Time in 2024 with Kung Fu Panda 4, and then previously in 2023 we had Peaches, which is Bowser's song from the Mario movie. So now we have Steve's song, I Feel Alive, which was a pretty go-to hard song. So yeah, it's a nice happy ending, and then there are two post-credit scenes, which I'm gonna get to. The first one goes back to Henry's principal, who's like already proposing to the villager, and we found out that her ex-husband was actually Henry's I think gym or art teacher. I think it was like one of his teachers. So that was like her ex-husband, and then during this, the villager actually starts talking, like literally talking. And I don't know if this is true, but is it just me, or is the villager voiced by the same actor who played Galaxar in Monsters vs. Aliens? I could be wrong, though. If I might look it up, guys, but if you guys know, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, out of nowhere, the villager just started talking, which was just out of place, and it was just freaking hilarious and ridiculous at the same time. And then we get to the second post-credit scene. So Steve goes back to the house that he lived at years ago before he went to the overworld, only to find out that it actually is owned by another person who is none other than Alex, who, if you guys know, that's the female girl character in Minecraft that you play as, who was first introduced in the 1.8 update, where it was a new character skin that you could play it as in Minecraft. So we don't see her face, but we do hear her talk, but they don't reveal what she looks like with her face, because I think they're maybe trying to still decide of like who could play her in the next presuming movie, if they do tend to make a second one. I mean, given how the Minecraft movie has done so far, it looks like it's doing pretty decent. Like, there are some people that like it and some people that don't like it. Like, the movie's kind of in between. Like, it's doing, some people think it's good and some people think it's bad. But, and yeah, and Steve went back to the house because of like some chests in the attic or something like that, from what I saw. But Alex reluctantly allows Steve to come in, and then the movie just ends just like that. And yeah, that was pretty much the end of the Minecraft movie. Again, my thoughts of this movie, it was pretty decent. I hated how I ended up watching the unfinished version on WodFix, but I ended up downloading the regular version on MoviesTube, and then I was like, okay, this is much better now, because the unfinished version was just so cursed. And I don't understand why Warner Bros. And Legendary decide to actually release the unfinished version in the theaters if they're doing that. Like, why? That's a problem I have with this movie. And the other problem is again, I don't really find Jack Black playing good as Steve. But I mean, I will admit, he did have some funny moments in this movie. I will admit, a lot of moments that people are using like for memes, like the whole chicken jockey scene in the Flint and Steel and some other stuff. There were a lot of funny moments, I will not lie about, that were pretty hilarious. And my final thoughts for this movie, like for my rating, I'm going to give this movie an 8. I don't remember if I gave Chaos Theory of, I don't know what rating I gave it, because first off, guys, I'm actually recording this the next day because I had to stop yesterday when I was doing like a part for the Minecraft movie review, because my dad came home, so I had to stop. But I'm going to give the Minecraft movie an 8 out of 10. It was decent. I enjoyed it. There were some parts of this movie that I didn't really like that could have improved on. But other than that, I enjoyed it. I love all the stuff they did with the movie. I, of course, do love the YouTuber cameos they had for Technoblade, DanTDM, and Aphmau. I think that was pretty cool. But, yeah. So, yeah, guys, that was my ratings of both Chaos Theory Season 3 and the Minecraft movie. Both pretty good stuff regardless. And I did enjoy watching them. And I did watch them with Jack Rex, and we both had a good time seeing them. And yes, guys, I do have some versus battles coming up with Malgosha from the Minecraft movie, so stay tuned. One versus battle I definitely will say is going to be Team Cohen versus Team Malgosha. That is a versus battle I definitely will be doing. And it basically will include all of the main characters from my Across the Multiverse series, which you guys seen from the posters. So basically this is like us revisiting the Minecraft world basically from Across the Multiverse, only now we have to face off against Malgosha. So stay tuned for that, guys. When this movie drops for digital, I will definitely be doing some versus battles that will be Minecraft movie themed. And I will have some other ones, like I think I'm going to be doing Malgosha versus Jack Horner, maybe Malgosha versus the Chameleon. Like, we'll see. You guys will see what I have coming. But so stay tuned for that, guys. But if anything else, guys, that's been my review of Chaos Theory Season 3 and the Minecraft movie. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe for more. It will really help out a ton. And I will see you guys in the next video.